Rarely has mankind hesitated to eradicate the creatures that stand in the path of his conquest. If we find ritual extermination, undesirable motives of another world, the rest must be destroyed. Is it possible that our dark past watch them and pray?
Greetings, ladies, gentlemen, government agents, masochistic worshippers from the Da Vinci Code, and anybody who might be listening. This is Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind. I'm your host, Tasker, and we have the very Mountain Man-esque looking, very comfy Nick.
Oh my God. I did it, guys. I said 2 weeks ago, I said I was going to delete my Facebook, and I did it. It's gone. Well, they say it takes 30 days, but the point is I did it. My personal Instagram as well. So if you need to get a hold of me, you have to just go to either Discord or you can go use our Twitter or Instagram, but my personal shit's gone. All right. So if you're looking for me, you can't get me.
And how appropriate too. I mean, if for all of us, for all y'all who are just getting to know Nick through the podcast, this just seems kind of typical.
It's been a long time coming, dude. I've been talking about the shit that's going on and the reliance we have on these companies every day, right? And it's disgusting. And I don't want my data ending up in Pornhub or something. Because I know Facebook is partnered up with Pornhub. You can't lie to me about that.
Yeah, I think Pornhub has their hands in a lot of things that we don't know about because it's a quote unquote taboo thing. So nobody likes to talk about it. But I think they do say that porn is I think the third largest corporation moneymaker in just history.
It's because people like sex, man.
Yep. They're attacking us right at our natural human instinct, which is it's a little rude, but nobody's stopping.
Yeah, but you know what? We all just watch it anyway. So what do you? We fall into the trap. It's our fault.
Yep. And what better way to start off this episode with the greatest sin of pornography and all that great stuff. This is a dense fucking episode today, so we need to get things moving. I also understand that, Nick, you're rocking probably the worst hangover your entire life today, right?
I'm fucking hungover, man. Let's dive into this shit, because look, I'm hungover for every episode we record now, but this one's bad.
Well, yeah, no, the minute you showed up on FaceTime, it's like, let's just say, you looked a lot paler than usual, and it was noticeable.
Just because I've been in my basement all day just trying not to die.
Well, hopefully, and you can't see it, but he actually has a full-blown hospital drip set up for himself.
Yeah, but in the IV, instead of nutrients and electrolytes, it's just straight coffee. I have coffee dripping intravenously right now.
So if Nick just stopped speaking this episode, it's probably because it finally just filled his bloodstream and he's no longer a functional human.
I am Coffee Man.
Yes. Glad we could discover your, because inevitably in the future when we do have to run away and change our identities, I'm glad you already have something figured out.
Oh shit, dude. I've already got identities lined up. Don't you worry about that.
Perfect. Well, let's start off with horoscopes, just kind of get the general mood of things. And then we'll hop into this very dense Jello-like pool of information.
Fuck yeah, dude. Another religious episode.
Yep. So what is in your stars today before we get this? Normally I call it a train wreck, but no, actually, I think today's episode will be very interesting.
Well, today, let's see what they have for me. Financial matters might need attention today. Bills may need to be paid, checks deposited, and budgeting worked out. Your powers of concentration are high, Cancer. So this is a great day to do this, even though you'd rather be doing something more interesting. But don't despair. Your practical skills are good, and you're apt to finish quickly. Then you can go play.
Wow. How accurate is that?
I don't have any bills to pay yet, but I know tax season's coming up, and I don't pay my taxes, so that's probably what it's talking about.
Yeah. Well, it'll be sad to see you go. It's been fun hosting the show, but it's very hard to do so from federal prison.
Look, the IRS, dude, they don't got shit. You know what? You know how many other people in the world are doing the same thing, and are they really gonna come and find me? They're like, oh, this fucking podcaster thinks that he can get away with not paying his taxes. What are they gonna audit me for the whole $2 that I got paid this year?
And you know what? Watch them do it.
For legal purposes, I have to say I do pay my taxes.
Yes, that's a smart thing to say. That is a good follow-up. Good God.
All right, let's look at my stars real quick here. And it's pretty much how I'm feeling. So
Uh-oh.
my success is a 2 out of 5.
That's the lowest it's ever been.
Yeah. My hustle is a 3 out of 5. My vibe is a 3 out of 5, average, but my sex is a 4 out of 5. So
Hey, at least you got something going for you today.
yeah, I guess, man. I guess.
Oh, wow. Well, could be worse, I suppose.
It could have been 2 across the board. I'll take a 4 out of 5 sex.
Yep, it bumps up that average. Not by much, but it does bump it up.
How's yours looking, man?
Let's see. Today, you could resolve to work harder than ever on whatever it is that brings the results you hope for, Scorpio. This is likely to involve nothing more glamorous than practical tasks such as getting paperwork out of the way. Nonetheless, by the end of the day, you should feel satisfied with your accomplishments. If nothing else, it should free you for more interesting chores.
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, dude, I've been working my ass off this week. Like, I got my new job, which I fucking love. And this outline, as you'll come to find, I took the reins on because yeah, and we'll get more into that in like the intro. But like, yeah, I would say this is very accurate. It's kind of cool. It's not really a prediction of any sort. It's just more of a statement. But
it's more of a looking back on your last week.
Yeah, but I mean, sure, I'll take the pat on the back. But
right.
Yeah, sex is a 4 out of 5. Hustle is a 4 out of 5. Damn fucking right. Vibe is a 3 out of 5. Oh yeah, it's exhausting. And success is a 4 out of 5.
Wow, you're looking pretty good, man.
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Like this is like I said, it's been a tough week, but it's been a very fulfilling week.
Good. I'm glad. I'm happy for you, buddy. I'm happy that your art degree is going places.
Yeah, you finally relented. You finally actually believe that I have a job.
I don't believe it yet. Personally, I haven't seen you work. Like, you've told me that you've been working all week, but I don't, like, I'm not there to verify. Like, I don't have your sign up papers that have all your tax forms. I'll need all that for verification. But you know what? I'm glad that it's working for you, allegedly.
Well, I will take the alleged congratulations in any form it comes. So, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Close Encounters with ya boys. I am taking over today because, one, Nick looks like he could keel over at any second, but also because I deactivated the remote locks that usually keeps Nick locked away in his research chamber, which is how most of the shit gets done.
And I escaped.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, yeah, how's the freedom taste?
If it tastes good, it tastes like scotch and Twinkies.
How oddly American of you. But not only because of that, but as you know, if you listen to the Satan episodes, I love biblical subjects. This is kind of my bread and butter. And I was also thrilled to see that there was some interest for this subject on our Facebook page. So originally this was going to be kind of a more basic episode on angels. But as you may know, angels are a huge topic that spans over many, many, many belief systems. But we were more drawn to the memes of angels that appeared as terrifying monstrosities saying, "Be not afraid," as people look on in absolute terror and horror. And here we are. So we're talking, of course, about biblically accurate angels. Big, scary, many-eyed monsters in the sky that supposedly are here to give you the word of God and help you all. So, everybody, we can now truly be not afraid. And let's get ready to shout holy, holy, and hallelujah and fly right into it.
Praise Jeebus.
Absolutely. You can really get your preacher chops out on this episode, Nick. So I hope you're ready.
Oh, Lord, Give me some money. Give me 10% of your money.
Which, by the way, you can't see the dance Nick was doing, but it was pretty fantastic and accurate.
That's how they dance, dude. At the Baptist churches and shit, they jazz hands and just move back and forth and ask for 10% of people's fucking incomes.
Honestly, dude, at least it's like it's kind of like a show. Like I grew up with Catholics, so it was just chanting and a bunch of like weird, like borderline cult shit.
That's because it is a cult, man. Catholicism, everything's a cult.
Yeah, I was gonna say you actually could argue that most religions technically are cults, but you know, historical significance can change anything over time, as you'll come to find. But like I said before, this is a really dense episode. So if we're kind of like flying through things, that's why, because we have many pages of info to get through.
I'm along for the ride, man. I'm just gonna. Look, guys. I said it before in the Satan episodes. This is Professor Tasker. All right, class is back in session. All right, so we're literally doing Sunday school right now. It is Sunday on the day of recording, and I am learning about angels.
Yeah, and it feels kind of nice to do something more benevolent, so I don't have to like pucker my butthole the entire time we're talking about this.
I'll throw some curses in every once in a while.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Whoop-de-fucking-do. All right. So first, let us begin by saying that, once again, we will be sticking to the Christian biblical canon for this episode, for both time's sake and because it's most closely relatable to the angels as we know them in pop culture. That being said, let's start with, what do we know so far? So, Nick, when you think of an angel, what is the first thing that pops in your head?
I picture like a meek woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
With like long, luscious wings on her back, but also like with a white like a nice white dress, but then I also picture underneath like she's like secretly into BDSM, so she's got like the harness on, you know, and like nipple clamps. Am I in the ballpark?
The worst part is I almost dropped a reference to angel porn as some of the best porn out there, and I took it out, but you brought it right. It was just fated to happen.
You know they're freaks in the sheets, man.
Well, that also goes hand in hand with the idea that most like heavily religious women tend to be, you know, once they break the seal, you unleash a monster, a sex demon, ironically.
A monster who just gobbles up anal beads, man.
Something like that. And you know what? It's more of a stereotype, but yes, Nick, you are exactly correct. We have angels are calm-faced, white-robed people with wings and halos that glow a holy light. Sometimes they hold a harp, and sometimes they're barefoot, and sometimes they're wearing some sandals.
Hey, sounds like the guy who sells me weed, man. I'm cool with it.
He is a modern-day angel, one could argue. He's looking out for your needs. So, what better way to really get this started and look at the dictionary definition of an angel, which is as follows: a spiritual being believed to act as an attendant, agent, or messenger of God, conventionally represented in human form with wings and a long robe. So typically, this kind of idea of an angel, like I said, the dictionary definition, the baseline, like non-secular idea, is pretty closely connected to the idea of the canon Christian angel. Of course, the pop culture angel is a lot more of a blanket kind of description, and it actually has gotten to the point where it's almost non-secular in that there's more of a representation of the helpers of the afterlife and just sort of what happens. So it's not necessarily specifically religious, at least in the pop culture. And we see it a lot because it has a really high appeal, because it works whether you're religious or not. When you see an angel with, you know, the white robe and the blonde hair and all that stuff, you think, oh, it's from heaven. It's kid friendly. It's comforting. And the key point here, easy to recognize. And that makes it highly marketable. And this is why we see this version of the angel in movies and TV shows. It's simply a matter of being a recognizable symbol of heaven, the afterlife, or death, or in some cases, guardianship or comfort. And of course, you know, the most recognizable symbols being the halo, the wings, and the white robe.
So it's kind of like how Roseanne back in the day, like during her peak, was the symbol for like obesity.
I suppose you could make a connection like that.
Okay, because that's what I'm getting. So I get it. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, basically, like it's in a weird way kind of a money making scheme. Like it's and we'll kind of get into like how that came to be, because obviously this form of angel is not biblically canon. It's close to what's biblically canon, but we'll come to find that this version was actually born from not like the past couple years, but actually generations of artistic license that was taken in the portrayal of angels for churches when a new denomination of a church began and they have their own new belief system. And sometimes it was just straight up an artist just wanting to have a new portrayal of an angel, so that way they make a shit ton of money.
It's smart, man. You use people's faith for your own needs. I've always said that.
And that's nothing new. That's been going on for forever. So if you're shocked to hear that the pop culture angel is the results of marketing bastardization, welcome to opening your fucking eyeballs.
Open up that third eye, baby.
But also, really quick, this is like super unrelated, but there is like this really cool, badass modern take of angels, where it's I found it actually. It's from a Tumblr account of all places. It's otherwindow.tumblr.com. But their take on angels is them as humanoid beings with a sort of unbroken horn. So it's basically like a giant circle that comes out of their head and connects above their head. And this circle glows with the bright holy light that blinds them, but also directly connects them to the word of God, with the point there being they have to trust God's guidance over their own free will, and even must give up their sight as a proof of devotion, essentially.
It sounds dumb. Sounds like a dumb plan.
Yeah, and that goes with like, with like even the stories of like Paradise Lost and that whole idea of like God not being as like or maybe God's infallibility is actually the removal of free will and shit. And like, that's something a little bit more antagonistic. So in this idea, there's rebellious angels who are tired of being mindless puppets will break that circle horn. So that perfect circle over their head is broken at the top and it grows outward. And that becomes the horns that we associate with demons.
Well, shit. That sounds pretty badass.
Yep. They regain their eyesight, but also get cut off from God. And then it's like, it's this whole like context and stuff. Like, I don't know. I thought that was really cool. It's super unrelated, but I'm going to try to wiggle it back into being related because did you know that actually horns didn't used to be associated with demons?
No. What were they associated with?
They were associated with bulls and rams, which were considered holy animals. But as you know, Christians fucking hated the pagans more than anything. And you know who pagans loved?
Goats and rams?
Goats. Absolutely.
Knew it.
So basically, Christians reassociating horns as being evil is essentially just a big middle finger to the pagans. But in early iterations, before all that happened, like even Moses was portrayed as having horns because it was considered to be like similar to like a ram or like a bull, which was a holy animal. And additionally, too, there's even some the idea of the devil's appearance being goat-like is also pulled from Greek mythology. Pan, as basically a way of doubling down and be like, yeah, and Greeks, fuck you too.
And I knew that just because, I have dabbled in pagan and paganistic religions and practices, Pan, the Green Man, all this stuff. Yeah, man. Christianity took these appearances and made them into the devil's appearance purely because they despised the fucking pagans that much, and they essentially thought they were the devil, and that is disgusting. And you know what? Pagans care about other people, man.
Yeah, you starting the pagans are people too movement.
Pagans are there are people. And they have feelings, all right? And I think that they deserve recognition, and I think that we should bring back paganism, man. There's a lot of people doing it, but not enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it ever left, but it's definitely like, well, it's a good example of history is written by the victors. Like, obviously, Christianity and Catholicism, like, took over like crazy when it, like, after like Constantine and all that shit. So, and all their enemies that got shit on, they're still in the hiding under the shadows and stuff.
We'll bring it back, guys. That'll be. I'll start working in pagan practices to the cult I'm making that some of you asked to join. So expect some of that soon.
Now, wouldn't that be funny if, like, down the line, a couple years in, it actually gets legitimized as like a real movement with the following?
We could do it. We could easily do it, man.
Mm-hmm. And I think, yeah, this level of transparency, I think people dig it.
Yeah, I'm telling you straight up, it's a cult. So join it or not. You know what I mean? I'm not lying to you.
So you know exactly what you're getting into, and you know if you end up being like, I'm in a cult, dude, we told you.
There's literally audio proof. So you can't say I've tricked you or I've taken all your money. You willingly did it. All right, for the sake of your extraterrestrial soul.
Yep, it'll be good for all of us. So yeah, you know, consider it. I'll be the guy in the background, probably just playing on like a Game Boy. Are those still a thing?
You could play an emulator.
I could play an emulator, and I think I would rather do that.
Yeah, me too. Trust me.
Okay, so now that we're refreshed, we're all in the mood. We're all feeling our angelic vibes. Are you feeling your holy vibes, Nick?
I'm feeling so holy right now.
And the worst part, the only takeaway people are going to get is that angels are equivalent with BDSM.
That's what I'm getting from it. They probably, dude, angels probably walk around with those butt plugs in with the little jewels on them.
I'm sure there's so much material of that online. So, hey, you know, if you're curious right now, just hit the little pause button and take a little gander. And if you find anything good, you know, do with that what you will. But if you're on our Discord, wink, wink.
Gross.
So anyways, let's get that sinful shit out of our system and let's check into Sunday school. Like Nick was saying, we got to whip out some Bible verses, and let's start off by seeing how angels are portrayed from the horse's mouth. So first, we have to bring up the book of Ezekiel. And if you know anything about theology and studying the Bible, the book of Ezekiel is noted for having some of the more striking imagery about like heavenly creatures. The book itself describes the 6 visions of the Hebrew prophet Ezekiel, who was taken into custody by the Babylonians. So now remember, during this time in history, the Jewish people were kicked out of their homelands and were basically getting exiled left and right and arrested left and right. Nick, be nice.
For the Jews?
Yes.
Okay, look, man.
Oh no.
All I'm saying is
right.
Okay, let's put it this way. If I'm in a relationship, okay, and I get broken up with, and I'm like, damn, that sucks. And I get into another relationship and I get broken up with, and I'm like, damn, that sucks. But it happens a third time, there's a common denominator.
I don't
it's probably me. So if they keep getting exiled, they're probably doing some bullshit. You know what I mean?
I don't know if it can be simplified that easily, but let's not get into that. That is a disaster waiting to happen. So during Ezekiel's captivity, God appears to him through visions, and he is given prophecies, which includes the fall of Jerusalem, the fall of Judah, the destruction of the enemies of the Hebrews, and as well as the inevitable end of the Jewish exile. Now, as dope as all that is, we have to direct your attention to a passage at the very beginning, where God first approaches Ezekiel in the form of a warrior on a battle chariot surrounded by a whole cast of kooky, crazy characters. And I will hand it to Nick to do some Bible verse reading.
Their entire bodies, including their backs, their hands, and their wings, were completely full of eyes, as were their 4 wheels. I heard the wheels being called the whirling wheels. Each of the cherubs, they're cherubs,
yes.
All right?
Yes.
Each of the cherubs had 4 faces. One face was that of a cherub, The second, the face of a human being. The third, the face of a lion. And the fourth, the face of an eagle.
And that was, of course, Ezekiel 10, 12 to 14 with onomatopoeic representations by Nick.
I'm good at animal noises, man. You ask me to do an eagle, I'll do an eagle.
We really should just get you into what's those called? Audiobooks?
Oh, I'd fucking love to do an audiobook. Like the kids that learn their animal noises. I'll do that for them.
Maybe we could license our podcast name, Close Encounters Audiobooks, where it's just us just like fucking reading them and just like doing whatever license we want.
That'd be awesome, dude. I would love to do that.
Oh man, maybe someday, but we'll leave our marketing ventures for off the air. So obviously, those are some of the more iconic representations that people think of when it comes to biblically accurate angelic beings, which, in short, fucking terrifying, scary. A lot of eyeballs and stuff. Sounds like something straight out of Silent Hill, right?
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of is it reminds me of like an elder god from Lovecraftian canon.
Yeah, there actually is a lot of comparisons between like Lovecraftian stuff and very possibly Lovecraft was inspired by all this stuff.
Hey, you know what his cat's name was?
I do, and we're not going to say that on the air because that's a terrible idea. I'm glad I'm in control of this episode, so I could just start talking and moving on. It's great. I love it.
Look up his cat's name, guys. Google it.
No, don't do it. Well, you it's funny, but it's bad. Anyways, so one thing though I got to point out is, first of all, these creatures and like how they're described. I mean, obviously, if you want to get it more at length, you can go into Book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 1 to 10, I think, is around the time where they talk most about all this stuff. But a lot of these creatures, or angelic beings or heavenly beings, actually have a vague relationship to Mesopotamian, Babylonian, Greek, and Roman mythology. If we can, there is an argument that this book was actually not so much as God truly speaking to Ezekiel, but Ezekiel tripping nutsack about God. And if that was the case, it would make sense that he would take influence from the mythology at the time to envision these creatures and to give like an explanation and an appearance to them.
So he was just fucking having a groovy time, coming up with these groovy characters. And he's like, you know what? These guys help me out when I'm tripping. Maybe they help everybody out.
And I know it's jokes here, but there is legitimate arguments about like if he was just like tripping nutsack or not, and there's like having a groovy old time. But the thing is a lot of that shit came true. And on top of it all, there's like the whole point of the book. It's not so much the hallucinations, but more of the lessons it teaches about like having faith in God. Like that's really the point of why that part of the Bible is important. But you know, we don't give a shit about that. We want to see the cool stuff.
We want to see titties. I mean, we want to see the cool stuff.
And I know you'll get a kick out of this. It pained me to write this into the outline, but there are also conspiracy theories about the Book of Ezekiel as the circular creatures possibly being UFO in nature, and that Ezekiel was actually being fed psychically information from aliens, which is obviously a terrible take.
It's not a terrible take. In fact, there's a lot of credibility that goes to that argument.
How so?
Well, because think about it, man. We have a book full of bullshit, okay, called the Bible, that the only way it's possible is if somebody made it up or it was inspired by extraterrestrials and UFOs and advanced technology, like we kind of talked about in the Jesus episode. And my personal opinion of the fact of the matter here is that he was being fed information, because the other option, like I said, that they would make it up. Dude, this was like, how long ago was this? 3,000 years ago?
Roughly.
There weren't narratives back then. We didn't have poets and like fucking creative writers back then.
Yeah, they did. And also, too, you're acting like the Bible was written by one dude in his room while jerking off with his other hand. It was multiple authors and prophets and their letters, and it's a collection of all these documents. That's what makes up the Bible.
And that actually hurts the point even more, because now we have too many cooks in the kitchen. There's no way. There's no way that a story like this could be created by a bunch of people living in a desert and make any kind of sense unless it was actually inspired by extraterrestrial activity.
Sure.
But that's just me, man. I mean, that's just me and half the world, all right?
And half the world, huh? I think you highly overestimate your following.
I have a pretty big look, man. Look, not to brag or anything, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Well, I'm glad to hear, especially when you begin the cult as you're a self-proclaimed prophet, huh?
I'm a prophet, but I'm not saying that I'm the savior. I'm not a messiah. I'm just here to send the message, all right?
You're a prophet for profit.
Hey, amen, brother.
Yeah. So Moving on from that, we are going to next the book of Isaiah, which also, by the way, is widely accepted to have not been written only by Isaiah, but by multiple authors. And that's like in the church itself. It's not like a like dispute. Like people are like, oh no, this was not just written by Isaiah for sure. And it has this description, which I will let you, Nick, take away.
All right, I will be reading Isaiah 6, 1 through 4, and verse 6 as well. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth, yes, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. God, I'm fucking hard right now.
Which, by the way, a little fun fact, the whole taking the coal and stuff like that, it's supposed to be a like it gets rid of sin. It's like a cleansing ritual or some shit.
I don't know, man. It sounds like this guy just works at a hookah shop.
Which is entirely possible. Like, I'll be the first to say, shit was written a long time ago. We don't know what happened.
Dude, and he did say he was sitting up high. I'm just saying, like, something's going on.
All up for interpretation. And that's another thing, too, is, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get into it, but it's like how back in the day, preachers literally could interpret the Bible however they wanted, because guess what? Everybody was illiterate. Nobody could read. You could say whatever the hell you want.
I miss those days. Those were the good days.
More fun times. But obviously, this passage in the Bible addresses the seraphim by name. But we will get more into that later. But I can also imagine that we're talking about biblical angels and stuff like that. And a seraphim, 6 wings covering itself all like weird and like throwing coals in your hands. Like, if you're like a 10-year-old kid and you're praying that, you got to pass your test tomorrow, you don't want that shit in your room.
Jesus, or any angels who can help me. I had this really hard geometry test tomorrow, and I really hope that, oh my God, is that an angel coming through the window? Lay out thy tongue, and I shall put a coal on it.
Holy, screaming in their face.
Weird.
Yeah, not fun. But that's kind of what the memes are all about, is they're thinking, so if I pray and an angel appears to me, is that what I'm going to see? We'll get into it. But before we do so, there's one last addition I wanted to add on, but there are some that believe an angel might appear to you as a being, usually humanoid in appearance, of pure light.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I was fuck yeah. I knew you were gonna. I left it out of the outline, but I knew you'd fucking bring up the goddamn Pleiadians, huh?
I'm just fucking saying, dude. I'm just saying that this seems like a pretty. If it's a coincidence, it's a pretty fucking hard coincidence. All right.
Mm-hmm. Well, you might want to recant that, because psych. If an angel appears to you as a being of light, it might actually be the devil in disguise. And I have the Bible verse to prove it. So, Nick, take it away.
And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising, then, if his servants also masquerade as servants of righteousness. Their end will be what their actions deserve.
Mm-hmm. So Pleiadian or the devil, or one and the same.
Don't you dare put them in the same boat.
Just saying, kind of throws a wrench into things just a little bit, huh?
I mean, a little bit, but I'm not gonna believe anything that comes out of 2 Corinthians 11. So I'd rather take the Pleiadian route. Thank you.
Fair enough. But consider this as a a moment to remember that if there are angels, and if we are under the assumption in this episode that they exist, there are demons. And if you listen to our Satan series, you would know Satan is a trickster and master deceiver. He's going to show it. He's going to make it look flashy. He's going to make it look cool. So don't get tricked there. And we'll get into specific descriptions of angels if you are visited someday. But yeah, if it ends up being Satan, you're going to accidentally sell your butthole over to him for all eternity. So sorry.
And you're just going to become a little pocket pussy, aren't you?
for the rest of your eternal souls. I was going to say lifespan, but I guess that doesn't really make sense, huh? Yeah. So what you're probably gathering right now is that the big lesson here is that heaven is actually just run by a bunch of eldritch fuck me.
Stroke.
Yep. Oh God, I'm probably just gonna keep that in. That was just.
They need to know. They need to know.
Oh, how professional I really am. Is heaven actually run by a bunch of eldritch abominations? I mean, we were all told growing up that angels were happy human-looking things with wings and robes and shit, and now all of our dreams are ruined forever. Is that kind of how you're feeling, at least, Nick?
Honestly, yes, because the whole BDSM fantasy I have for angels is going right down the drain.
There's no you can't fuck the flaming eyeball wheel.
You could, but what I'm worried about though is finding BDSM gear that fits.
Yeah, that's it's gonna be, you're gonna have to do a lot of customization. We might see blacksmithing come back as a profession.
Fuck yeah, dude. See, I'm good now. I'm better.
Well, I'm good, but too bad, because I'm just kidding. There are human-looking angels too. In fact, most biblically accurate angels are actually fairly pleasing to look at. All of angeldom is actually built off of one giant hierarchy that is meant to split up the work of serving God and interacting with humans, sort of like a business or a government. So, to bring you, our listeners, comfort, no, you probably won't get visited by the eyeball wheel of unfathomable nightmares. Unfathomable. God, there's so many big words, dude. I hate writing.
You wrote it. You're
the
one that did this to yourself, buddy. That's why I have an 8-character maximum on my outline.
It's like a script you run on your computer where, like, if it goes past 8 words, it just automatically autocorrects it.
It just wipes my whole hard drive. Yeah.
It's a good fail-safe. But so these creatures, though, these big scary things, I'm not saying that they're not canon. They are. But when when little Johnny's praying to pass geometry tomorrow, the big scary things are probably and actually guaranteed to not show up, and simply for the fact that they have bigger titties to lick.
They got bigger titties to lick, man.
So you can rest easy. So next up, as you might imagine, we got to get into this hierarchy and see exactly what we're dealing with. So, the most widely accepted portrayal of the Christian angelic hierarchy is found in the book De Coelestai Hierarchia, or On the Celestial Hierarchy, which was written by Pseudo Dionysius, the Areopagite.
That sounds about right.
I
mean, I don't know what it means, but it sounds right.
I think it's a place he came from. But side note here before we get into the book itself, you might imagine his name is Pseudo Dionysius, and shockingly, that's a pseudonym. The real author's name is unknown, and he took the name of Dionysius on the cover of his books, which, by the way, the real Dionysius of Areopagite, whatever, was actually a judge who converted to Christianity and was venerated as a saint. And the reason why he took this name is actually the reason why his writings got so much widespread attention. So to be clear, in this very kind of confusing explanation, the unknown author signed his books as if he were a saint posthumously writing shit. And back then, that was marketing genius. People loved it.
But how do they know it wasn't really the saint?
We don't know. And I think a lot of people probably fell for it. And they're like, he's writing from beyond the grave or some shit like that.
Peace.
But unfortunately, it wasn't just some marketing bullshit with bad information. The book itself is, really good and had some really good info that, as you know, from this moment right now, we're still talking about. The book itself, let's see if I could do it well again. De Coelestai Hierarchia was written in the Greek language and is dated from around the 5th century. the actual Bible doesn't spend a whole lot of time describing angels. Like I said before, they're more about the context of teaching you lessons, like the whole, bestiary of heavenly creatures. They could get less of a fuck about it. So this author essentially went into the Bible and took it upon himself to organize what we do know about angels from the Bible and organize it into a list to really get into the stuff that we all really want to know. So, as I kind of hinted at before, the book was extremely well received and is also widely accepted by scholars and theologians. You're right with this 8 fucking word thing. I'm stupid.
Theologians, but yeah,
Theologian.
eight or less, man. When we start trying to sound like a game of Scrabble, it's dangerous.
I don't even think you could write that word in Scrabble. Well, I guess if there's something, who cares? So, in other words, this book is widely considered to be canon. And it was even influential in the development of the Eastern Orthodox Church, which I discovered recently has a much more detailed system about angels and stuff like that. And they really go a lot more in depth. But that is just a specific denomination. So we're complicating things a little bit. So let's simplify it down a little bit and let's talk about it just from the Christian canon standpoint. The hierarchy of angels is a ranking system of angels that details their appearances and responsibilities where the Bible falls short. It is divided into 3 orders, also known as triads or spheres: the highest order, the middle order, and the lowest order. Each order contains 3 beings, and each being is supposedly several times more powerful than the one below it. Now, the way we're going to do this today is we're going to start from the lowest, right at the bottom, and work our way up to the cool, fun, scary stuff. Now, the lowest order of angels are actually pretty close to the pop culture portrayal of angels, but not exactly. The lowest order functions as heavenly guides, protectors, or messengers to humanity. So, the first and the lowest on the totem pole are just simply referred to as angels. They are human in appearance and notably have the highest level of interaction with humanity out of all heavenly beings. They basically function as foot soldiers and gophers for the entire angelic order, sending messages, speaking to humans, and doing the biddings of the higher ups. Now, this Christian understanding of angels actually is pretty stolen from Judaism. And in Judaism, though, partially swiped it from the Egyptians. So remember, nothing's original. It hasn't been for a very, very long time.
Okay, I want to interject real quick. Which one of these levels of angels is most likely to do butt stuff? That's what I want to know.
Probably the lowest angels. They have the
Okay.
most interaction with humans. They're the closest approximation of like actual physical interaction. There is argument about if angels do take a physical form or not.
I'm sure. Look, I'm sure they do. I'm sure where there's a will, there's a way. All right.
Oh yeah, no. Some think they do take physical form. Others think that they're completely spiritual, and some even go so far to say that they're genderless.
Even better.
Well, it's something for everyone, right?
Hey, man, I don't see gender. I just see a hole. So.
Well, good for you. So we'll say that part's still kind of a matter of opinion and not really something that it just depends what you subscribe to. One thing, though, that I think is very important to pop out, and one could argue, not even argue, it is the biggest difference between canonical Bible angels and pop culture angels, and that is the absence of halos and wings.
So the biblical angels don't have halos or wings.
Nope.
So it could just be some dude, right? Or some girl, and we wouldn't know. They'd be like, "Hey, man, I work for God. You got $5."
In this context, yeah.
Hey, man, so I couldn't help but notice it's kind of cold out tonight. You mind if I stay in your barn?
Don't worry, I'm an angel, bro. I got the robes and shit. Although I imagine an actual angel is able to create, it's a powerful heavenly being, so it could probably disappear and reappear, and it could probably fly and do all that miraculous bullshit,
Hey, your name's Mary, right?
Oh,
God
no.
God told me that you're supposed to get pregnant with his baby, but I gotta put it in you. Is that cool, man?
Don't worry, dude. It's direct orders from higher up, man.
Yeah, don't worry about me not having wings or anything. Just like don't look at it, you know?
Or protection.
Yeah, man. I don't have any
Mm.
sheepskin, so
Well, I'm excited to be damned to hell for all eternity with you from that moment.
oh man, we were damned long ago, friend.
Very, very true. But this information was very interesting to me. Halos are actually not unique to Christianity at all. They were used pretty secularly. Like I said before, kind of with the pop culture angel, and it kind of went full circle, pun intended. Um, it was more of a symbol of like the light of the sun. And sun worship was huge for most of humankind. I mean, obviously it's the sun. It brings life. It's why we're all here. So the sun and this bright circle has always sort of had a holy connotation. But it just kind of like all art and stuff. It's like, oh, that's cool and holy. We want it too. So Christian artists, they adopted it primarily for sainthood. Sainthood or any like Jesus or anything like that is portrayed with like a halo. But that wasn't always the case. It was just kind of something that they adopted.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, just like I said, trying to make a buck and
Yep.
make it more marketable, make it look dope.
Yep. And I mean, it did get accepted into the Christian canon, but like it really, you're right. No, it was artists that were just like, oh, this is a cool fucking idea. And they just threw it on there. And as you'll come to find out, the idea of slapping wings onto an angel was also borrowed likely from Persian artists because in their artwork, Persians considered wings as a symbol of a heavenly context. So if there was a creature portrayed in their artwork with wings, it was from heaven or had some sort of association. So it was just borrowed by Christian artists, and then it was just so present in the work that it just kind of just became the thing. Additionally, there might have been also been inspiration from Greek mythos, where some gods and goddesses are portrayed as humanoid with wings. And if that seems hypocritical to you because they made Pan into the devil, that's because it absolutely is. God may be absolute, but the church is run by fallible piece of shit humans.
Yeah. Hey, shit, man. Look, that's why I don't trust them. That's why I don't give them 10% of my income because it's ridiculous.
DTA, man.
DTA.
Yup. Oh, wise words. But you heard it right here, folks. Wings and halos are technically non-canon. Biblical angels, if they're visiting you, they won't have wings or a halo, at least on these lower angels. As we'll come to find out, it's more accepted that higher up angels may actually have these wings, but with a lot of this stuff, this is the result of years, centuries, decades of changing in opinion. So you know what? I'm just reading what I found.
And that works for me, man. Look, if it now since these lower angels don't have wings or halos, if they ever come and visit you guys after you're done praying, always ask for some kind of proof or like a form of ID or something because if they're like, hey, I have the Son of God version 2 ready for your womb, but we gotta like get it on right now, you gotta get ID first, make sure that they're actually an angel and then go through with it.
Yeah. Well, and ironically, it's if they have an ID, then they're probably not an angel. There has to be some sort of they're from Oregon, probably not.
Yeah, so yeah, if it's an ID that's if it's like a Delaware ID that says like Jonathan Applebottom, don't fall for it. He's probably just looking for a quick hookup.
And I imagine too, angels will probably appear to you in a way that's pretty non-human. So that distinction will probably be easy to make, but there's some skeevy people out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting ideas all over the place in this episode, so
But one last thing I wanted to bring up is there is a common belief with the bottom level of angel, that some of them are assigned to guard and protect a specific human, which we know as guardian angels. Now, in terms of if this is canon or not, or if this is biblical, or if this is something that's real, it's a matter of opinion. It's not explicitly addressed in the Bible, but it sort of makes sense. So there's no real so basically, long story short, it's a maybe. They could exist and they could be real, but a lot of people don't contest it because the idea of a guardian angel is really comforting and it's really nice and it's It's fucking cool. Like, why ruin it? You know?
I think my guardian angel's been asleep on the job for like 20 something years.
Probably all the paganist shit, dude. They're like, oh, fucking this guy here with his goddamn rocks.
He's hopeless.
So who knows? And also, too, there's an argument of like, maybe your guardian angel isn't from Christianity. Maybe you have something. We don't know what the fuck's out there.
Yeah. That's the thing is we don't know.
Yep. We truly don't know. So if that parking space miraculously opened up, you can chalk it up to whatever you want. We don't judge. So next up on the lowest order was actually kind of surprising to me. Archangels. They are actually the second weakest on the entire totem pole. Now, I grew up thinking that they were basically the strongest creatures in heaven, but in this context, not very true. Their name can be translated to chief angel, and they act as the guardian angels of nations and countries. So with angels previous, the bottom level, they just protect particular people, whereas archangels is like whole nations and groups. They are portrayed with warriors' armor and sometimes can be showed as having large wings, but as I said before, that's a bit disputable. Commonly, they are believed to be only 7 of them, but there are also plenty of other denominations that believe there to be an 8th one, or that there's those 7 that lead a whole army of archangels. It's just, this is where things get a little hazy and a little kind of all over the place, because archangels is a really fucking cool subject. And although I know religion gets a reputation for being like overly serious, people are interested as fuck about this. And why not? Because the story of fucking Michael, who is the best, like Satan, the one who struck Satan down,
Because he's a chief angel and he believes in the nations of the chief angels.
Christ. This episode, I was like, how is Nick gonna somehow like make this offensive? And here you go.
I'll always find a way, man. The second you say chief, automatically, boom, feathers on the head. So that's what I think about.
Did you actually see that dude who got arrested for storming the U.S. Capitol? The guy who had like the face paint and like the fur and shit.
Yeah, man.
Apparently, they came up with a nickname for him called "Dances with Karens."
That's pretty good.
Oh, geez. So, yes, there's a big fascination for archangels because an archangel was said to be the one to cast the final blow on Satan himself. But, of course, we got to list all of them. But I should also mention that Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael are the only archangels that are explicitly mentioned in most versions of the Bible. But that's no fun. So we're going to list them all. But remember, this follows more of an Eastern Orthodox belief, more in the circle of Christianity, because archangels, it spreads into Islam, it spreads into Judaism. It's just way too much. So we're going to condense it a little bit, but we got a couple to talk about. So first, we have Michael, whose name in Hebrew is "who is equal to God" with a question mark at the end of it. And he is the commander and the most powerful. And supposedly he was the first one to be created. He is armed with the spear, and as stated before, Satan's mortal enemy and probably the most popular figure in the cosmos.
But wouldn't you say Michael being the most powerful of the lowest angels is kind of like being like the highest jumping person at the Special Olympics? Like, it's kind of like, well, so what,
In this context, kind of, because remember earlier, every rank above you is about 7 times more powerful than you. So yeah, technically Michael's not that tough, comparatively speaking.
What a big pussy.
Fucking blasphemous. This is so bad. But there are also, I do got to point out, to kind of like cover our tracks a little bit, there are other interpretations of this hierarchy where archangels are in fact at the top. But I'm going for the raw shit, like, the first interpretation, and some argue the most accurate. So, it's up to you. You believe what you want to believe, but this is what we're going with today.
I'm going to believe he's number 832 at the Special Olympics, and I'm rooting for him.
How unfortunate, this idea of Michael, one of the most portrayed archangels in theological history, as just you commissioning a sculpture of him, just like, with Down syndrome. Holy fuck.
Hey man, you're the one that said Down syndrome. I pictured maybe like cerebral palsy or something, where he's got those little stick arms, trying to jump,
Oh, no. Oh, gotta say, not how I expected this conversation to go.
I'm full of surprises, man.
You are keeping me on my toes. Next is Gabriel, which means might of God, and he is the herald to the mysteries of God and is generally portrayed as holding a lantern or a mirror of green jasper. We have Raphael, which means God heals, and he is depicted with an alabaster jar. We have Uriel, which means light of God, who holds a sword in his right hand and fire in his left. Sealtiel, which means intercessor of God, who intervenes in God's name and is shown to be constantly holding his hands in prayer. Jagudiel, yeah, which means glorifier of God, has a gold wreath in his right hand and a kinky triple thonged whip in his left.
I fucking knew it. Dude.
There you are. There is your BDSM angel.
I was hoping it wasn't Jagudiel, but I'll take what I can get.
Next, we have Barakiel, which means blessed by God, who holds a white rose. And there is sometimes an eighth archangel. And there's one of two. One is Jeremiel, which means God's exaltation. And he's the one who helps people to find their faith in God. And in more of like the Jewish side, we have Metatron, originally a biblical figure named Enoch, who ascended into heaven and became an archangel. And in some cases, and in some theologies, considered to be the second most powerful being in heaven next to God himself.
Megatron?
Metatron.
Ah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, might as well be, I guess. But yeah, like I said, we can do an episode on these if we ever really wanted to like really get into them. But for now, I just figured we should just list them off and just kind of move on.
I still like Megatron the best. He was a dope guy, and I wonder what the rest of the Transformers are doing up in heaven.
Oh my God. Well, as we said before, a lot of this is up to interpretation and opinion. So you just believe what helps you sleep at night. So, like I said, these specific jobs and descriptions for a lot of these outside of the first three, which are Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, really are kind of non-canon. But it just can show how deep the interpretations and opinions can go because, like stated before, archangels is a really cool and interesting subject that kind of has a more like popular connotation. But we will have to move on for now. So next we have the top brass of the lowest order, known as the principalities or rulers. Now, the principalities can protect the institution of the church itself, as well as act as administrators to angels and archangels, while occasionally stepping into a system when the big guns are needed. They are usually portrayed as human with a crown and wielding a scepter. Additionally, principalities can bestow blessings and work to inspire continued growth of education, science, and the arts. Now, this description is much less exciting than the other two because they really don't interact with humans as much or have as heroic of a connotation as the archangels. So, as you'll come to find out, a lot of these kind of characters don't have a whole lot of lore surrounding them because they don't interact with us as much. They don't have the cool stories. They just kind of do their job and they do it well, which is good.
Is it bad that when you said that they can help bestow blessings and growth of science and education, is it bad that I find that to be an oxymoron when talking about angels? I don't know.
You kind of have a point there. I mean,
but I will say, and I will be the first to admit that a lot of the shit that I talk about is an oxymoron to science, so I can't be talking. All right.
Yeah, because there is that belief that science is essentially the antithesis to religion. But back then, science was kind of in their pocket. Like scientists and like learning how to cure disease and stuff they encouraged it. They liked it. But then when science, started to be like, maybe God doesn't exist, then they were like, fuck you, we're burning you at the stake.
Yep. Yeah, sounds about right. He's a witch.
Yep. So like I said before, if it sounds hypocritical, that's because it is.
Nice. Yeah, the story of Christianity, eh?
Yep, I am not going to defend him on that one. It's true. They go back and forth on everything, as we will come to find. Unreliable narrator of sorts.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So moving forward, we are now going to enter the middle order. And then these characters act as the governors of creation, matter, and spirits. So now we're kind of beyond Earth at this point. First, we have the powers, also known as authorities. These angels monitor and enforce law across the cosmos, essentially acting as a heavenly police force to keep demons and evil spirits at bay. They do look exactly like angels, so human in appearance, but are fully armored and dangerous, wielding spears, chains, shields, etc. Their appearance is, like a lot of these things, mostly up to opinion, and their interpretation is I think of them as ultra archangels. That's basically the way I see these guys, is what I'm trying to say here.
I see them as, you know what I'm picturing in my head is like RoboCop, but with wings.
I mean, yeah, like I said, a lot of this stuff is just sort of like we're given very vague descriptions. So, and maybe half of the point of that is so we can like have that flexibility to imagine them however we want to. So yeah, you could have cosmic RoboCops.
Fuck yeah, dude. Where he tragically gets like messed up in an accident, like on the job, and then without his consent, they turn him into a cyborg angel, and then he goes on just like, yeah, man.
Yeah, but right above the Ultra Archangel RoboCops, next up in the line, in the middle circle, the middle triad, we have the virtues, also known as strongholds. They are in charge of causing signs and miracles to encourage humanity to deepen their faith. Basically, they are essentially God's street team. They won't directly interact with you unless you are a saint, in which case you can have fun little team meetings with them to discuss how to get more people onto Team Christianity. They are a bit more plain in appearance and take the form of humans in just bright, glowing clothing. Now, I imagine that as just kind of like a robe.
Look, man, this is all well and good. You had me in the first half when we were talking about like the lower, I kind of understood like the lower, what is it, class or realm, or what are we talking about? The lower dimension.
Yeah, the order, the lower order, lowest order.
Now it's starting to sound like World of Warcraft lore.
Where do you think World of Warcraft lore came from?
Look, when I think stronghold, I don't think of like an angel or a person. I think of like a castle or like a barracks with like, guards all around. Like I don't know, man. Now it's getting funky. Now it's even a little too weird for me.
Well, technically all this stuff is generally accepted as canon, so that's the thing. And that's also why people only look at the cool ones like archangels or angels or seraphim, is because the rest of it's kind of just weird bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's canon and everything, but sometimes it's hard to fall back on that argument because like Rey Skywalker's canon. I'm not happy about it.
It does say a lot with what canon really means.
Sucks.
But on the bright side, like I said, if you can get any solace out of it, if you are visited by an angel, in which case, in your case, Nick, where they probably go to like bully you and give you a wedgie, at least it'll just look like a person.
Look, they will not give me a wedgie, dude. First, I'll be like, oh, flash your robe. Let me see that BDSM shit. If they're not wearing it, I'm going to give them a wedgie.
Now, if you can keep the webcam running, I would love to watch that.
That'd be awesome, man. Like, just be like, see, I knew it. I was right all along. I know that they're freaks, dude.
You can actually use that as a platform of your self-proclaimed prophetness, and you just show the video. You'll get followers by the million.
And I'll just start wearing BDSM stuff under my robes.
That'll be your official garb as cult leader, is just straight up BDSM stuff.
Yeah, I'll have like a cage on my dick and
yep, thick goth with fishnets.
Oh, dude, I'll look great. It'll be awesome.
Well, I'm glad that we can give you a little bit more of a concise direction.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. I was worried about what to wear tomorrow.
Yikes. So at the top of the middle order, we have the dominions or lordships, who regulate every and all angels beneath them, including angels in the lowest order. Dominions are basically celestial supervisors. They are the rarest for a human to see, which might explain why there's not a lot of information on them at all. They seem a lot more administrative in nature. They are believed to look like the most beautifully possible humans, with large wings, wielding a scepter with a glowing orb, or sometimes it's a sword with a glowing orb at the hilt.
So they're like supervisors for everybody beneath them, right?
Yep, basically.
So these dominions basically have to take calls from what's that guy's name? Raphael or Michael or one of the two. And he's like, look, Michael, I told you I need those reports on my desk by Friday. And if I don't fucking get those reports, you're going downstairs, buddy. God can't say anything about it because he technically put me in charge of this branch.
You're not too far off.
Man, dude, office life is weird, huh?
It is. It's a hierarchy, and that's how it is, and it's relatable even to us humans.
Holy crap, I think my third eye is opening up even more right now, because now I'm starting to understand what angels are like and what they have to go through on a day-to-day basis, and it's just as monotonous as when I was a manager before this.
Yeah, it's a lot less glamorous than I thought.
Yeah, but you know what? If it makes it more relatable, hey, go for it, man. We all have that one boss. Am I right, guys?
And also, too, I mean, if you're working for God himself, like, I imagine there's not like a crazy amount to do. You're just kind of like helping him out. This is like a being that literally created and is omnipresent and all this stuff. So they're all just basically worker bees. So a lot of this stuff is just kind of like, pretty mundane.
And you get Sundays off work, man. So that's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. But all this is pretty tame, as you might be saying to yourself right now. But let's get into the main act, also known as heaven's most horrifying sphere, the highest order. Now, this is what we came here for. These angels are the direct servants of God and are the most powerful in heaven and arguably in all of the cosmos, which is interesting because that brings up the possible opening that these like nightmarish, like other Cthulhu type things might actually exist in other dimensions.
Oh, they do. I don't know if they work for God, but they exist in other dimensions. I will stand firmly by. Like right now, guys, we are all living on the third dimension, right? And I've explained this many times. But as the dimensions start to rise up and they get closer and closer, like if you get closer to visiting other dimensions, you'll see shit like this that you're about to hear about. You will see stuff like this in the fifth dimension all the way up to the ninth dimension. So they exist for sure. They're behind you right now. You just can't see them, but they can see you.
In a weird way, I am not going to completely refute your argument on this one because we are kind of getting to a higher plane of existence here. So multidimensional further on. Technically, this fits into that category. And like I said, it does keep it open to the idea of interpretation that angels of God, and especially to this order, are basically the ones keeping all those crazy things in check. So if I'm going to play with the idea, they could coexist with Pleiadians and your Galactic Federation. They are just, it's them and God himself. So they might actually be one big happy team.
I knew it. Like, look, there's the fact that we're talking about other dimensions right now, and Tasker willingly talking about other dimensions is a good. First of all, everybody, give Tasker a round of applause. It's a very good sign. But second, it's showing now that the things that these people saw or are recording, or these things that they're coming up with, are coming from somewhere. Now, is it from getting high as balls and then seeing into different dimensions and then recording what they see, possibly? Opening up that third eye, getting that, because back then they didn't have to worry about pineal gland calcification. That wasn't like a thing. Like they didn't have governments putting like fluoride in tap water and feeding you McDonald's all the time. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have to worry about that shit. So they were like seeing, these people back in the day had the ability to see into other dimensions more easily than we do now. And I think that's where this comes from. And I applaud Tasker for talking about it willingly and even entertaining the idea.
It's unfortunate, really, but you know what? I didn't write it. It's just what I found, and it's just the way it is. So you know what? I'll just take it in stride, and I'll let you enjoy yourself for a little bit.
Thank you. I am really enjoying this episode, man. You know how nice it is to not talk the whole time sometimes?
It's a good twist. Like, dude, you're like, so I know it's like at the end of every episode, you always talk about how hungry you are and stuff, but dude, it really does make you hungry.
Makes you hungry. It makes you real hungry, dude, and your eyes hurt at the end, and you feel like you just gave like a dissertation on like astrophysics or something.
It really does feel that way. I do feel like we're starting to get a better understanding of each other's roles.
Yeah, and now I can just sit back and make dick jokes and dumb BDSM jokes, and just kind of jerk off in the corner while Tasker reads.
A happy day for everybody, and all was well.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, though. First up on the list, and this is the highest order, we have our favorite, the star of the show, what we were all afraid of to begin with, the giant spiral eyeball wheels. They are called thrones, also known as ophanim. Ophanim, who knows? They are at the bottom of the highest order. Now, we touched on their appearance earlier from Ezekiel's vision, where they acted as the wheels for God's throne, essentially, which is portrayed as a chariot. I don't know if we got into that specific part of it, but that's essentially how they first came to be, is they were seen as wheels to God's moving throne, hence the name. Thrones themselves act as the immediate guards to God's throne and his territory. They also act as the angels of humility, peace, and submission, and are the living embodiment of justice and authority. So basically, in order to speak to God, you got to get through them first. So if you're thinking about barging right in, and you can make it through all those other tiers of the orders of angels, that's the big boss you got to deal with next, essentially.
Damn, that sounds rough.
Yep. So to further elaborate on their explanation, the best way is let's crank out our last Bible verse of the day. Nick, take it away.
This is Ezekiel 1, verses 15 through 21. As I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the ground beside each creature with its 4 faces. This was the appearance and structure of the wheels. They sparkled like topaz, and all 4 looked alike. Each appeared to be made like a wheel intersecting a wheel. As they moved, they would go in any one of the 4 directions the creatures faced. The wheels did not change direction as the creatures went. Their rims were were high and awesome.
Oh man, sometimes jokes just write themselves.
And all 4 rims were full of eyes all around. When the living creatures moved, the wheels beside them moved. And when the living creature rose from the ground, the wheels also rose. Wherever the spirit would go, they would go. And the wheels would rise along with them, because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. When the creature moved, they also moved. When the creatures stood still, they also stood still. And when the creatures rose from the ground, the wheels rose along with them, because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels.
Now, to point out, the living creature in question is a cherub, which we'll get into next up. But there is a belief that thrones might not even be angels at all, but actually vehicles for cherubs, and hence why they follow them exactly. But I think it's a little bit more of a cool, like they're just so connected to them that they just like move with them,
Yeah, it was like it was kind of like just a big game of Simon Says,
just constantly and forever for all eternity, at least when God's around.
Yeah, when God don't you dare stop when he walks in the room.
Exactly. I do got to point out there is a much less cool representation of thrones, which is them taking the form of just old men that are just constantly adoring and worshiping God, which a lot of people find relatable to the 24 elders found in the book of Revelation. But I think that's dumb and stupid. And I'm going to just keep thinking of them as the giant spinning wheels with the cherubs in the middle.
Oh, man, I love God so much. Oh, guys, do you like God too? Yeah, I like God. How about you, Jeffrey? Do you like God? Yeah, he's pretty cool. I've worshipped him my whole life. What about you, Anthony? Do you like God? Yeah, I love God too. Just 24 times.
Yep. All day, every day. Heaven sounding less and less appealing every minute.
Yeah, don't take me there.
That sounds terrible. So, moving forward, thrones are most significant in that God himself rests on them. And although they are portrayed as wheels, or in some cases, literally as God's throne, hence the name, Supposedly, they can float around freely, not under control of cherubs or anything like that. But as stated before, with most of these cases, it's not explicitly stated, and a lot of it is up to interpretation. But another thing to note is that they are constantly shouting glorias and praise for their Lord at almost every moment. So if you can imagine this giant eyeball circle thing constantly twirling, shrieking cult-like chants for God. Nothing creepy about that, right?
God, 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 God. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, so good. So good.
I would love to see an animated series of this and have you just voice all of them.
Nobody wants to see that, man. No, they'll kick me out of the USA.
Probably. So appropriately, next on the list and the next rank up in the highest order are the cherubim, or cherubs, which are the second strongest of the entire angelic order. They are, at least in this context, not the fun, chubby babies that we've all grown to see in paintings and in Looney Tunes. Cherubim act as the holy guards to the throne of God, as well as the guards to the tree of life in the Garden of Eden. They are portrayed in the book of Ezekiel, as we touched on earlier, as having 4 faces, one of a man, an ox, a lion, and an eagle. And in some interpretations, they have 4 wings. Other interpretations, they have 6 wings. But these wings are all covered in eyes. And they also have a lion's body. And they also have ox feet. The 4 faces represent all life on earth, with the lion representing wild animals, the ox representing domestic animals, the eagle, which represents birds, and of course, humanity itself. Now, I too am unsure why birds get their own category and that fish are ignored entirely. So
it's because Christians knew that evolution would make a game-changing turning point with fish moving to land, and they didn't want to believe. They knew it was coming, and they didn't want any part of it.
Wow. And that's part of their big cover-up of evolution and all that, huh?
They only acknowledge birds.
I'm sure there's some bird fans out there that'll be very happy to hear that. But
bunch of what do they call ornithological nerds? The study of birds. You fucking nerds, all you bird watchers. You really get a pair of binoculars to look at birds and not into people's windows? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, that raises a bunch of other questions about like how you spend your free time, but you know what? To each their own.
I got some night vision ones coming in soon.
Oh, good for you. You and your weird bunker that you got building up here. Jeez. So, if you're wondering how the cherubs protect God and Eden, you could probably use your imagination of what these abominations can do to you. Although there is no specific evidence, I imagine they are huge and incredibly imposing, with the 4 heads and all that stuff going for them. I don't even really want to imagine what they could do to me, but there are no specific descriptions to be had.
Look, I know that you said in this context it wasn't correct, but I still want to picture these little cute, chubby babies wielding these massive swords protecting God, saying like, "You want to fuck with my Creator? Oh my God, I'm gonna fuck you up so bad, buddy. Why don't you come over here, huh? I'll shove my sword so far up your ass you won't be able to do nothing about it, okay?"
I mean, the worst part is they could do it. So, I mean, it might be fun and adorable at first until suddenly you got some cold steel up through your butthole and out your mouth.
Yeah, getting impaled by a chubby baby, and not sexually. I meant like a sword. Okay, we might have to cut that, dude, because now I got the IRS and the FBI on my ass.
All over, man. All over for you.
Damn it.
You're done, bucko. And also too, because there is a lot of Christian art portraying cherub and cherubim as like the chubby babies, which is highly likely and most likely borrowed from the idea of Cupid, which is indeed another example of Christian hypocrisy at work.
Yes, it is, and it's ingrained in our heads, guys, because like every time you mention cherub, I know we went over what they do look like, but I just kept picturing some blonde, fat, probably obese child with a sword. All right.
Mm-hmm. And that's incorrect. According to the Bible, they're fucking terrifying and scary, almost like they seem to be kind of more chimera in nature, sort of. but which honestly was also probably swiped from because that's Greek, right?
I think so. Greek or Roman,
Yeah.
one of the two. Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, it's stolen. Nothing's original, and that's the way it is. And like I said, Christianity is it was made by men. So, regardless of what you believe or what you don't. So, shit's gonna be kind of fucked.
It's a melting
But
pot.
it is. It is. But also, one last fact about the cherubim or the cherub is that Saint Thomas Aquinas, a 13th century saint, actually proposed the idea that Satan was actually a cherub. He was a fallen cherub. And if you were curious about where he might have, because we all know Satan was an angel before he fell from grace. So this is kind of like where he was on the totem pole.
So Satan's a fat baby with horns now.
Yep.
I like
he turned to a very angry baby covered in brimstone.
Just crying all the time because there's constantly shit in his diaper. That sucks.
That's a rough eternity. That is a rough eternity. But also, too, if you might remember from the Satan episode, there is the portrayal of him having multiple heads, if you remember. So it does make sense that he would be a cherub.
Yeah, that does make sense. Good connection.
Learning things. But finally, let's get to the Big Papa, the strongest second to God, the strongest second to God himself, the top of the highest order, the Seraphim, also known as the Burning Ones.
Now this is badass.
And it's a cool name, and it's got this is the strongest stuff that heaven's got outside of God himself. These guys act as the caretakers of God's throne and basically are God's direct assistants in helping him to maintain his perfect order. All angels below are inspired, motivated, and look up to the seraphim who have authority over them all, of course, aside from God himself. One important detail is that, kind of like the thrones, they constantly shout, "Holy, holy, holy," all day, every day, notably 3 times per burst to reinforce the idea of the Trinity. Kind of fun, but also fucking terrifying.
I'm noticing something here.
What?
I'm noticing a lot of these angels seem to be autistic.
Well, one could say they don't really have free will at all. They just do. And they're in such a state of ecstasy for the Lord that,
They're in a state of ecstasy they're just edging for the Lord all the time.
Arguably, kind of. You've done some weird shit when you were horny as shit, right?
Oh, fuck, man. I still do weird shit when I'm horny.
So it's no different. It's basically that, but and that's why they fucking love doing the job so much, because it's they're basically edging the whole time.
Oh, so good. Oh, holy. Oh my God, let me finish.
Oh yeah. If you say Nick, as a budding cult leader, if you had the ability to have people constantly feel near orgasm at every minute, they'd probably shout the same thing to you.
Yeah. Why do you think I'm doing this, buddy?
Well, let me know on the progress on that. It'll be very interesting to see how that changes human history.
You got it.
Ugh.
I'm gonna end up on the next cold case files, aren't I?
I can't wait for the episode. Honestly, it'll be really fun.
Shit.
And like I've said before, I can't how just funny would it be to have the episode? It's hey, episodes are suspended indefinitely because Nick's in federal prison. It'd be sad, but it'd be really fun.
It'd be fun for you guys. Meanwhile, I'm getting sandwiched by 2 men whose names are Molly and Sarah.
Well, we'll be hoping for you. We'll be praying for you. And hopefully you'll be visited by by the seraphim.
Nah, I'm good, man. I don't need them.
That is a good vote of confidence. So, the name of the seraphim comes from the Hebrew word seraph, or to burn. Now, they are not necessarily on fire. It could be symbolic of their fiery hot passion and devotion to God and his works. Like we said before, they do his bidding ecstatically, borderline sexually.
Oh
God.
I laid out your towels for after your shower. Oh no, I fell on your bed. Hopefully you don't trip and accidentally put it in me.
Oh, you can see why God keeps them close by.
Oh, hey God, it's time for your bath. Do you need somebody to scrub your back? Maybe you want Like a Nubu? Like you want a Nubu massage while you fucking shower?
What is a Nubu
Or
massage?
Nuru, sorry. N-U-R-U?
What is? I don't know what that is either.
Google it.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
Hey, God. Oh, hey, dinner's almost ready, but I bet you noticed I'm only wearing this apron. It'd be weird if something happened, right?
Well, keep all those thoughts in your head and just wait till we get to the description.
Oh, God.
But before we get there, to continue on with the fire motif, fire also has the qualities of clarity, brightness, and light, all representative of holiness. Heat can also represent the energy and force that they put into their fanatical devotion to God. So, as I said before, they're not literally on fire, but it's more of a symbolic thing. So now, if we're thinking of them, bending over the bathtub, or showing off their lifting their skirts up, we'll say this is their description. They have 6 wings, 2 for flying, 2 to cover its face, and 2 to cover its feet. And these wings have eyeballs all over the inside and the outside. Their faces tend to be more portrayed as human, but in some circumstances, they're portrayed as a giant eyeball. But this could also simply just be the wings covering their faces, and that their true appearance are actually 100% unknown. Seraphim's appearance as a giant multi-winged abomination and its reputation as being the strongest of all the angels is sort of in pop culture. You will see in Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, hence his name, Sephiroth, Sephirim, Sephir. You get it. You know what I'm talking about. Sorry, I got to get this right. Seraphim. Fuck. I'm so hungry, dude. I get it. I get it.
You
now.
get it, bro. And near the end, man, and it just hits you.
It's so bad. Right at my Japanese reference. But, we're going to take it in stride and we're going to keep going. We're almost there. More modernly, Galeem from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the final boss who just basically takes a Seraphim-like appearance, or the character Seraph from The Matrix, who guards the Oracle.
Good reference. Love The Matrix. Seraph was a badass character. Makes a lot of sense. Don't like the other 2 references. Don't know why you put them in there. But that's, that's just me. Okay.
Yep. But that's all of them. And the big conclusion here is that, yes, unless you do plan on storming God's throne or disrupting the entire celestial balance, no, you probably won't have to deal with any scary angels. Biblically accurate angels is just a meme. It's just funny. It's good to laugh, and I'm glad to ruin the joke for you. However, if you do end up going to heaven, and if all of this is true, there is a chance that you will be running into these horrifying things at some point. But also, if you're drinking the Kool-Aid too, hell, you might even be joining in on a good holy, holy, holy. And that's it. That is the end of our episode on biblical angels.
Great job, Tasker. You did a good job on the research for this episode. I've never been more hard after one of our episodes before for some reason. And
it's a holy ecstasy.
I'm feeling like a seraphim, man. I'm doing this podcast mostly out of from a sexual standpoint for some reason today. So, yeah, good job, man. That was fun.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of dense information, but I'm surprised that we got it as quickly as we did. Like, it was just kind of a lot of reading, not really a whole lot of debatable stuff because, we had a specific canon we were sticking to, but I'm glad we were able to do it all in one tap. That feels good.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we got to sneak in talking about dimensions and a little bit of extraterrestrials in there, because we can read through this outline as many times as we want, and we can all laugh and slap each other's asses saying, hey, this is funny, but we all really know what's happening here, right? Like, you all know what this is. At least most of the listeners do. You know what I mean?
Oh, and what is that? Do enlighten me.
It's clear, and it's been clear, that angels are just spies from different extraterrestrial species coming to Earth.
God. But they dress it up like the whole Christianity thing and make it seem like something a little bit more digestible.
Well, I mean, we talked about it with the Jesus episode, right? How Jesus was the ultimate and first human hybrid, human alien hybrid, and the angel was just like basically a spy, or like a tag along to make sure everything's going smoothly. And I think there's a lot more of them out there. There's a lot of angels out there that are actually just like Pleiadians coming down to make sure, hey, shit's going all right. And how close are you guys to joining the Federation?
Well, we did describe the angelic order as sort of government in nature. So what would you say are the chances of the parallel of this actually being the organization of the Galactic Federation or the Pleiadians themselves?
Good question. I think some of the details might be missing or off. Like you said, it's kind of hard to get all the info, like, especially because we don't know if these are the Pleiadians, right? If these are the Pleiadians, I think that maybe their hierarchy is very similar to this. I think that there's definitely different orders. An enlightened species like them have order. They have a hierarchy. They have a way to know who's in charge of what, because they wouldn't be an organized advanced civilization if they didn't.
Very true. So there's two different ways of looking at it. As angels are actually just a made up thing to safeguard the idea of Pleiadians, or angels and this like heavenly order does exist, but they probably work alongside them.
Interesting theory. Maybe. Okay, but here's the we got to look at the big picture, right? So we have to look at the big picture that God is not what we think he is.
Right.
It's a omnipotent, all-knowing cosmic entity, but not a god. It's like literally like a physical or spiritual or something. There's something there, and then this Galactic Federation, aka angels, works directly for this cosmic entity that is what we call God.
Damn.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I think about the Christian God.
Okay, that's a kind of a cool take though, of like they do, and there is essentially a cosmic entity that is the one that preserves the order of all things, and it is the one that they basically not necessarily take orders from, but that's what they're striving to like push the word of.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Well, hard to say what's bullshit and what's not, because like I said, a lot of this is pretty misconstrued over the decades, but that was a sort of more like, I don't want to say annotated look, but a more, kind of a condensed version of everything, and interesting takes. And like I said before, normally I'd say that whole alien thing is garbage, but like we did get into multidimensional, and you didn't think the Christians would go there, did you?
Nope, but we did it, and they did it, and I'm proud of it.
Here we are. And we did talk about how like the devil himself can show up as a being of light, and that actually might be more of a Satan than an angel. There have been talks of Count Chocula appearing in a bright, vibrant, lighting fashion, like as if he sort of figured out how he did it, how Satan did it.
And he learned the trick. He's sucking people in with his bullshit, trying to come off as a Pleiadian or an angel. It's like a trapdoor spider, all right? You're walking along and you think nothing's going to happen, and then boom, all of a sudden, Count Chocula's got his chocolatey fangs all up inside you.
Yeah, because he's taken a book from Lucifer himself, is sometimes you got to be a trickster. You got to get them to get their guard down, and sometimes showing up with all your chocolatey glory is it's a little off-putting, and you'll probably think he's a homeless man. Yeah. So, we think he's starting to figure out how to dress himself up a little bit more, at least in recent years. So for all we know, we may have seen him right under our noses and not even known it.
I'm not surprised. He's shifty. I am not surprised whatsoever.
So use caution, and if you are visited by an angel tonight or something like that, have your checklist. Check for the ID. Are they glowing so much? Demand some proof. And if the angel just kind of looks at you funny and says, "Oh, ye of little faith," and disappears, well, guess what? They were real. Good for you.
It up.
Yep. So it is kind of a lose-lose in this modern era. And that's why it's got to be hard to be an angel nowadays.
Because you can't trust anyone. So when you come down and say that you're a servant of God and you're here to impregnate you, they think that you're fucking insane.
Basically. Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you all for listening. I had fun taking over today. My vocal cords feel charred and like they're disintegrating. But you know what? It feels good. A lot of good information. I love the subject, and hopefully we can get more into this stuff in the future. But if you enjoyed this episode, you could please go on iTunes, Give us a 5-star rate and review. That would be phenomenal. Grow our little cult following, because inevitably Nick's going to really show the world what he's made of. Spotify, you can click that follow button, and we upload every single Wednesday. Instagram is at CEOTPK. YouTube is Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind. Twitter at CEOTPK1. Facebook, just click on Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind, exactly like that. You can email us at ceotpk1@gmail.com. You can join our Discord, free to join whenever you feel like it. Discord.gg/lowercase b, number 6, capital C, capital T, number 5, capital M, capital X. If you feel the need to, completely optional, but you can donate to us at ko/fi.com/CEOTPK. All the links above are on our Facebook if you want it in one neat and tidy place.
Yeah, see, and I'm also working on looking into getting a dedicated Discord URL, so it's not like it doesn't look like you're trying to hack into like a terminal somewhere, you know what I mean? So hopefully I can get one that says CEOTPK soon, and it'll be a lot easier. All right, guys.
Yeah, that'll be nice. We're figuring it out bit by bit as we go, and I feel like we get a little better at it every single week.
Yes, but hey, thanks for listening, guys. It was fun. Tasker did a really good job. It was fun, kind of just poking jokes in every once in a while, and resting up my hangover, and I hope you guys had fun. It was a good episode.
I hope you guys agree with us. So yeah, thank you guys.
And remember, whether you think angels are these like big, creepy, scary, multi-eyed beings, or if they're like little meek BDSM people, just remember that the truth is out there.
Oh man, you just think what you want, man. There's so many different ways. It's just not.
We can cut this. I didn't look ahead for this one because I was too excited about the Pleiadians.
Yeah, I'm sure.